Hello and welcome to the Single Society. My name is Jo, and this is the podcast where we will be exploring single life from a more positive perspective. Now, this episode that you have landed on here is the fourth episode in a 7-part series, which is taking you behind the scenes of singles nights. Now, of course, not all of you will be interested in singles nights. If you are actively choosing to be single at the moment, then more power to you, an excellent decision. It is, of course, entirely yours to make. But if you are in a space where you are open to or actively looking to meet that special somebody that you want to share and have a joyful relationship with, then singles nights can be a really powerful way of doing that. I think that it's fair to say a lot of people are fairly tired, fairly frustrated by dating apps and are keen to meet people in person. But having run singles nights for a number of years myself, I do see some common mistakes that keep coming up. Now, I run these nights in Manchester, in York, in Preston, other places coming very soon, but the mistakes stay the same. Honestly, it's not a regional thing. It is very much we as human beings tend to make certain mistakes when it comes to dating and to singles nights. But fortunately, because I get to see behind the scenes of them, so do you. And this series is going to help explore some of those so that you then don't make these mistakes if you do choose to come to a singles night. Now, each of these episodes is a standalone, so by all means listen to this one first, but if you haven't listened to the other 3 yet, you may wish to go back and do so. We were looking at things like why it's a mistake to play down your reasons for coming, not great to be late to singles nights, that is a big mistake. Why it's a mistake to not ask for somebody's number if that's something that you're keen to do. So those things have already been explored and you're welcome to go back and listen. It's worth following or subscribing to this podcast as well, because there are going to be lots more coming up that show you the behind the scenes. So if you haven't done that yet, I would encourage you to do so now. But for today, we are going to look at another very, very important element of mistakes that people make at singles nights. And this one, the big mistake for today, is not asking questions. Honestly, I cannot tell you what a mistake this is. This isn't really just singles nights now. This, I'm going to say, is dating and even relationships in general. And even beyond romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with family, everything. Not asking questions, it is a mistake. Yes, you want to share things about yourself as well, be open to the extent that you're comfortable being, but to not ask any questions is not a good sign. Now, I will do a number of things at the singles nights I run to help make this as easy as possible. Perhaps the most obvious one is that when you first arrive at one of my singles nights, and I appreciate there's lots of people doing singles nights out there, they're all a little bit different, so you may have something similar. But at the singles nights I run, when you first get there are conversation cards. They're called hygge cards. Hygge is a Danish word that means cozy, and that's very much my goal with these events, that they feel cozy, that they feel relaxed, warm, welcoming spaces for you to be in. And these conversation cards have 3 questions on them, and they sort of range in seriousness. Some are very silly, some are more intense. You don't have to look at them all. Generally speaking, despite the fact these cards are in front of every person, it normally only takes 1 or 2 of these questions to get the conversational ball rolling, and that is more than enough. So when it comes to asking questions, to start with, I really do make it easy for you, because I will literally have put some conversation cards right in front of you. All you have got to do is read one out. Please do not miss that opportunity to show that kind of basic level of engagement. It's a great way to start the event. It shows that you care, it shows that you're taking it seriously, and it shows that you're open to having conversations through the night, which is a really great signal to be sending out to potential partners. I do appreciate that most people, and honestly, it is most people, when they first come to a singles night, are going to be feeling a bit nervous. Again, acknowledge that for some of you, it may be quite a lot more than that. You may be feeling quite anxious. And for you, of course, please do what you need to feel comfortable in the space, first of all. Keep drinking water, get fresh air when you need it, come and find one of the hosts whenever you need us. It's important that you feel safe in the space. But as soon as you are feeling settled, it is also really important that you show up as your best self and make the most of being there. And the best way that you can do that is by really engaging in conversation with the people around you. Throughout the course of the event, we will swap you around to different tables so that you get to meet everybody. So you are going to repeatedly be seeing new people and have fresh opportunities to ask them questions. Now, one of the things I'm going to say with this is, aside from the Hygge conversation cards, which make life very easy for you, I honestly am a bit of a champion of small talk, which I know might sound really controversial because small talk gets a really bad rep. I think small talk is fine to ease in. The only problem is if it stays at that very surface level. But the really obvious questions we all ask, like, where are you from? What do you do? How did you get here? Like, they're valid questions. And in having them, they're kind of like the polite questions that enable you to then go deeper and find common ground. It feels more natural to say to someone, oh, what do you do? Than how many pets did you have growing up? Like, by all means, also ask that. But it's just the kind of ways we like start broad and then can focus in our questions depending on what the person in front of us is saying. So small talk is only a problem if it stays at that very surface level. Don't feel like you're being boring if those are the kinds of questions you ask at the start. That's pretty normal, I'd say, and that's absolutely fine to do. What is important is to try and progress from there, and that involves a certain amount of active listening. So, really hearing what the person is saying to you. Now, again, I completely acknowledge that if you're nervous, that can feel a little bit harder to do, but to the extent that you can, take some deep breaths, look at them, hear what they're saying, show up as an active participant in the conversation, and ask follow up questions based on what they're saying. As much as you can, try and ask open questions rather than closed ones. And it's important as well to perhaps think through beforehand, what are key things you'd want to ask a potential partner? And I would think about that before you arrive at the event. What are the kind of things you want to know? What do you want to ask about? It could be core values that you have, core interests. If you're like a really sporty person, for example, you're out hiking every weekend, ask about that, because it enables you to figure out who's a potential match and who might not be quite the person for you. Although, of course, it's always good to be open minded as well. So, the next few episodes are going to be covering more of the behind the scenes mistakes that people make at singles nights. If you're not yet subscribed, please do make sure that you subscribe or follow along to the podcast now, and I will see you in the very next episode.